Okay, hello everyone and welcome to a new stream here on Access the Animus. My name is Marco, and as you can see today, we are here on ATA. We are joined by our longtime friend, Wayne Davies. Hello, welcome to the stream.
Hello, Marco. Pleasure to be back.
Hello. It's been so long. I'm not sure how many of you might know or remember Wayne. Wayne has been a long-time member of the community. How long have you been part of the community?
Since day one, if I recall.
Since day one.
I'm obsolete. There's young blood in the game now. You and me, we're dinosaurs, Marco.
So yes, welcome to our new stream. Today we're going to discuss a lot of the news that have been shared in the AMA on Reddit. We're gonna first talk a little bit with Wayne, let him introduce himself to you and what he's done in the community in the last few years. Hello everyone, hello Ikrik, hello Elena, Captain Planet, so many of you in the chat. Camila, hello, welcome back. Hernan, hello Zark and Ikrik, our amazing mods in the chat. Hello, and we are, I forgot to mention, we are joined by Sary as well, who is playing Black Flag, and she is, well, how can you forget about the wife? Hello TGK, welcome. Hello Noor. So Wayne, tell us a bit more.
Yes, sir.
about you, what you've done in the community in the last few years. So for those of the people in the chat who might not know, so can you present yourself? Tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, what have I done in the last few years? Not all that much. I've been in hibernation really. Back in the day, I was a prominent Assassin's Creed multiplayer YouTuber with some of the old guard, Luma, Wingspan, some of the old multiplayer people. I did video content, well, YouTube multiplayer videos, but then video essays, critical analysis of the games, a couple of reviews, a lot of joking, mocking Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed videos, silly stuff, and
I remember some of those. I remember back in the day, you like you mentioned, like you were like a huge multiplayer YouTuber. Like you did a lot of videos about the early multiplayer for Brotherhood Revelations, the early games. Like you're a long-time fan as well.
I do miss those days. I do miss a good multiplayer. Crossed Ubisoft did something out with Infinite. Wishful thinking, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah. My content was multiplayer focused, and then slightly shifted to game coverage, covering Unity, and was a part of the OG Initiates program.
Oh, you were part of the Initiates program?
Yeah, way back. I'm pretty sure my Twitter bio still says it, and I haven't changed it. But but yeah, that a long time ago. But then I kind of got burnt out on the series. I was a bit annoyed with how repetitive the series overall got a little bit. I was a bit burnt out when ultimately doing content, and it's picked up. Decided to come out of retirement as you were to do it.
Okay, I think you're. Yeah, I think your voice is still stuttering a little bit. I think in the chat they're mentioning.
Is my audio stuttering?
Okay, so the volume is a little bit better. They're mentioning in the chat, voice is stuttering a little bit. But yes, you did mention that you participate in the Initiates program. You kept some of the Art of Initiate program on your social media as well. I think you mentioned that, which is something that we did on ATA for quite the time, especially on our Facebook page. up until very recently when we changed all our graphics. Hello, aka Retro, Nicholas, 6 keys. So many information about Basim today. Everyone cross off tech issues on their ATA bingo. Well, yeah, of course. This is something like a staple in the ATA streams, having technical issues. So, so yes, and something that we did a few years ago, and I don't remember how much time that was. We did a podcast together. I don't know how many of you in the chat might remember. A piece of content that didn't last that long. I think it was something like a year or maybe less, like half a year. Is what you're seeing on screen right now. It was called ATA Declassified. And it was this podcast that Wayne and I hosted back in the day. How many years ago was it? I think it was like 4 to 5 years.
About that,
yeah.
About that, yeah.
I think it was around the time of Syndicate or the AC movie. I don't even remember that. Like we did have a few episodes. They are still on the channel, on the ATA channel, yeah. To me, it was all like everything was new. Like speaking publicly on a live stream or on a very long recorded video. That was before we did like continuous videos on our channel. So I remember back in the day it was quite the thing. Something I was thinking about this earlier today. The same approach that we're having today for the discussion that we're gonna have in a few moments about the AMA. Like back in the day for the episodes that we did, I heavily prepared for everything that we wanted to discuss for the episode, and instead you decided to go like super free into the episode, and it always emerged like a very strong discussion because we had like different approaches to stuff, so we had so many things to say and to discuss.
Yeah, I think from what I recall, the last episode that we recorded, I think it was a pre-Odyssey one.
Yeah, it was pre-Odyssey. Yes,
it was just pre-Odyssey, and I called that Sandra and Alexios will be brother and sister. I called it before it was confirmed, so I think that was the last.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I remember some episodes that were about Odyssey. Mentioning, I recall that we discussed some opinions because I had tested the game at Ubisoft Quebec back in the day, something like that. So yeah, those were some good times, and we wanted to try and replicate that in the live stream today because we have some cool content to discuss. Because, like I mentioned earlier, today we had a lot of new information about Assassin's Creed Mirage. Coming from the recent AMA that the developers, the key speakers for Mirage, participated in. There were a lot of questions. But just before getting into that, I wanted to ask you, Wayne, like, what are your opinions about Mirage? Like, what are your feelings about the game, your expectations and stuff like that?
As long as my mic doesn't cut out, I'll speak a bit slowly.
Oh, it's fine.
I'm looking forward to it. I feel that I said on Twitter that the franchise as it stands now is going through a bit of an identity crisis. It doesn't know what it wants to be. I don't think it knows what it wants to be. It wants to appease legacy fans, but at the same time, it wants to try new things and try the new RPG stuff. We've done with the RPG area, and with Mirage, it's in their marketing, return to roots.
Yes.
It's the big gimmick of return to the roots of the franchise, which I don't think Ubisoft actually know what roots are these days. And my mic's cutting out I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think that like they have been running a lot on the theme of returning to the roots, and a little bit too much, in my opinion, because I did enjoy them being open about some aspects that we're going to discuss later, that should be part of the roots of the franchise but are not going to be part of the game. But yeah, they went super heavy on that, too much. Like now it's becoming a gimmick. It's becoming a meme to a degree from in some fringes of the community. But yeah, I'm also looking forward to the game. We'll see how that pans out, because it is a DLC turned into a main game, so it is starting from the main engine of Valhalla. So it's also very difficult to think of the game as a proper and true return to the roots, considering it's starting from the base of a game that was very far from the Sary from the that was very far from the roots. Like Valhalla was very like it was like a huge RPG game with like different systems and stuff, which was so very far from AC1. So building a game off of that, it's going to be tricky for sure for Ubisoft Quebec.
Well, it looks like they're hitting some of the right notes, because it looks like they've addressed some of the combat stuff. They've gone back to collision combat.
Yes, to a degree.
Compared to like hitbox stuff.
Yes.
I'm sorry for my mic.
Yeah, it's fine.
Again, but they're mixed up with the combat, but.
Yeah,
So sorry.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about the combat, because like combat will be a little changed and improved from Valhalla. It's going to be a little different. Some aspects will be similar, like the parkour aspect, which is something that was discussed today. And we're gonna see, in terms of story and visuals, that's probably where we're gonna see more aspects coming back rather than gameplay, in my opinion. But we'll see about that. A few people saying in the chat, "Hi Sary," because this is one of the things that we have in our streams. When Sary has our main character die, we all say "Hi Sary" we all say "Hi Sary" in the chat. So yes, but anyway, we did mention some things are changing in Valhalla. Some in Valhalla, in Mirage. There's going to be some return to the roots, or some of that is going to be only just presentation. Let's have a look at what was mentioned today in the AMA. And again, full disclosure, Sary and I, we did cover the whole of the AMA today. But Wayne, you did mention to me yesterday that you wanted like to intentionally go in the stream today without knowing anything about the AMA.
Yeah, I do not know a thing. I know one or two things about the outfits and costumes.
Okay.
The outfits and costumes, but that's all about that, but nothing else.
Okay. That's better, because we're gonna have like we're gonna. I'm interested to see your reactions about some of the aspects. So, Sary didn't create a huge work of collecting all the comments by the three main participants in the AMA. There was Creative Director Stephan Boudon, there was Narrative Director Sara Beaulieu, and Art Director Jean-Luc Sala. And I think, well, let's have the chat decide who we're gonna start from, because we categorize the comments based on the three people that participated, based on the key speakers. So would you like to start with the comments by the creative director, by the narrative director, or the art director? Let us know in the chat, so we can also see if you guys are more interested in the creative / story aspects of the game and the answers that were provided, or if you are more interested in the art direction and the questions about the map, there were some answers about the landmarks that are in the game and in the map. So TGK is asking for Stephan Boudon. Elena is saying, I'm mostly confused about the outfits and costumes. We're going to clarify that. Gracious Warrior is asking creative first as well. So I think give Stephan Boudon some love. Job title at Ubisoft location. I saw that. That was the description that Stephan Boudon had on his profile. So let's start with the comments by Stephan Boudon, the creative director. We have Jean-Luc Sala right now. So let's start with Stephan Boudon. I think we have a majority of comments of requests on Stephan Boudon. Then I think we're gonna move on to vary a little bit. We're gonna move on to the art, and then we're gonna go back to the story with the comments by the narrative director. So the first comment, by the way, the creative director answered also about gameplay. So we are going to discuss creative aspects, but like on a top level. So, for example, the first question that we're seeing on screen right now was by Bruno HM. It was actually 3 questions. The first one is outside of the 6 tools shown, which are actually 5 plus the torch. Are there more to be revealed? Which is going to be a no. Those are the 5 tools that we know of. And could we get more examples of how we can change the properties? And the interesting answer, I think this is one of the most interesting answers, is that Basim will be able to access the 5 tools, and there's going to be 3 tires for each of the 5 tools that we unlock. So the tools are the smoke bomb, the poison trap, the throwing knives. We have the I forgot. We have the blow dart and
the traps
and the poison traps. I think I mentioned. So the creative director did mention that there's going to be 3 tiers for each of the tool. I forgot the noisemaker, and each tier will allow you to choose a new modifier. For example, smoke bombs can also be turned into a healing vapor that refills Basim's health, which I didn't expect that. And also throwing knives can be charged to deal more damage. So you can see, I think on screen right now, there's the comment by Stephan Boudon that Sary created some graphics on. So Wayne, are you interested in the modifiers on the tools? 'Cause like it was super interesting to me, because that provides more versatility in the approach to the stealth missions.
I think it depends on what the modifiers are.
Okay.
Ultimately.
So yeah, I think I saw that
one modifier.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, if one modifier increases duration.
Yes.
While another has more coverage. You know, if there's again, it depends on the utility of the upgrades.
Yeah, because I think I saw in the gameplay trailer there, like I think there was an indication that you can expand the duration of some of the items, some of the tools, and also the range of the smoke bomb, I think it was. So, and I was pretty surprised to see that you can also change the effects of some of the tools, like the darts for the blow darts. They can be like sleep darts, or they can be berserk darts as well. So you have not only increase in stats, but also in the things that you can do, which is I think it's pretty interesting. And And also another element that the creative director mentioned is that there was a question about exploration. So there was a question about, are you going to use the same settings, so artifacts, mysteries, and wealth, the same aspects on the map. And Stephan Boudon mentioned that there's going to be world events, like in Valhalla. There's going to be in Mirage as well. There's going to be treasure maps, which is something that was in Valhalla as well. And there's going to be also loot to find. So it seems like the artifacts are not going to be there, but there's going to be probably, the yellow chests, like in Valhalla. So the systems are very similar, I think. And also, it was mentioned that the game is linear, but there is the creative director mentioned at the end of this answer that the story will be linear at first. The first target will be mandatory in Baghdad. Our dog is barking at the moon. But then, after killing the first target, you'll be able to start your investigations into the other 3 main targets that are tied to the 3 other bureaus that you find in Baghdad. So the game will open up to be sort of like open world within the city of Baghdad. So you will be able to pursue the target that you want after the first one. So there's still going to be some elements of versatility and choice in a way. What are your opinions about that? Like, are you more into having the chance to choose the order of the missions and what you want to do in the game, or are you more into a more linear story and progression in the game?
Well, if you have the main story beats, it's linear, yeah. But then if you've got a bit of utility, so like say a tile where you can assess each target individually. My microphone keeps cutting out. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have a look with Sary and try and fix it.
Okay.
I'll get back to you on it.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I agree on that. In that, I'm also into more linear story, and I think that if you are able to choose the various targets, it feels like the story tied to each target will be self-conclusive in a way, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to choose the target that you want to pursue and then move on to the next one and then the next one. And as it was mentioned by Stephan Boudon, the targets are tied to the mission. The assassination mission will be tied to the assassin bureaus that are scattered across Baghdad. So you will have to go to the assassin bureau, get the mission, and then go out there and hunt the target. So in the chat, there's a lot of you guys are saying that you guys are loving the linear story rather than an RPG open world kind of story and game. So look at that. I hate RPG. So I think we can move on to the next one because there's a lot of comments that we can discuss. I can't see it. Yeah. Okay, so the second questions were actually by 6 keys. So the second set of questions. So the first question was about how the skill tree works, and Stephan Boudon did mention that they're still fine-tuning the skill tree. Skills are dependent from each other, so it's not like you can pick, like cherry pick the skills, as 6 keys asked. But you will have to unlock a path to access the different skills. But you can unequip them, so you can reset them. And the creative director mentioned that you can unequip most of those but not the ones that are connected to the tools that you're going to gain as you're playing. So, and also armor and outfit can't be equipped, but we're gonna get into the costumes later. But yes, so there's going to be like the skill tree will be similar to the ones from the earlier games, where you can't mix and match. Like you have to follow paths in order to get to the skills. And the other question that I was more interested in was the one about social stealth, and I'm not at all surprised to see that 6keys asked about social stealth. So the question was, can we blend with anyone or just certain groups? And is blending automatic, or do we have to trigger it? And Stephan Boudon asked, you can blend with any civilians in AC Mirage except children as soon as you have 3 people in Basim's vicinity. However, you can also trigger a patrol blending. So, what is your position on what are your thoughts about social stealth? Were you more into how it was portrayed or not portrayed? Like, are you interested in using social stealth in your stealth missions, or is it something that you don't usually use in the AC games?
I think the stream just fell apart for me.
The stream fell apart for you? Okay.
I think. Just give me a second.
Okay.
I'm just trying to fix the microphone. I do apologize.
Oh, damn. Okay, so while you're trying to fix it, I'm gonna share my opinions on social stealth, which is something that I was really looking forward to, and to see it back one way or another, because social stealth was technically back in Valhalla, but really, was it? Because like you could have social stealth stations, but really guards were not walking around there. Sometimes you were spotted even while you were in social stealth moments, so it wasn't working at all in Valhalla, at least when the game released. So I'm happy to see it back properly. Like you are joining a group of 3 people, the social stealth will trigger, so you will not be spotted. And also, Stephan Boudon mentioned that you can trigger what they call a patrol blending. So Stormy Soup is saying 6keys is so real for asking about social stealth. Only reason I didn't ask about it is because I didn't feel I knew enough about their system to even know what to ask. I'm super interested in this, what they call patrol blending, because it was mentioned that, what the creative director mentioned here is that you can, when you're finding 3 people that are standing, like they are in a static position, social stealth triggers. But also you can activate what they call a patrol blending. Basically, it's when you are when you are bribing people to walk into a direction that you are choosing, or to walk into a direction that is useful to you. Like you're having a group of people getting into a palace of sorts, and you can blend within them so that you can enter the palace unnoticed. So I'm seeing Hernan is saying social stealth is fundamental. I absolutely agree. Did Origins and Odyssey have any type of social stealth or environmental stealth? Yeah, they didn't have any kind of social stealth, as far as I remember. They did try. The developers did try to have social stealth and then removed it. So no. So it's nice to see it back, and it's nice to see that you can also walk with NPCs into heavily guarded places, even though you have to bribe them, and the tokens that you will need to bribe them will somewhat they look to be scarce. Like there's it's not gonna be like a frequently findable resource. So I'm interested in that.
Can you hear me now, Marco?
Yes, I can hear you.
There we go. Right. Well, there's audio down.
Okay.
If Sary can switch over the video or just put my logo over the camera, I think that's the best way I can save it right now.
But... So Sary, can you hear? Okay, so Wayne asked if you can switch to your camera. Now we're seeing your logo. It's a tiny one, but while you're working on the video issues, like we mentioned at the start of the stream, we're still having technical issues. But
basically audio beats my webcam, so I've had to sacrifice one for the other.
Okay. Well, let's keep the audio because I think it's more because like I said, like this way we can hear your thoughts on social stuff, for example.
Yeah, it's a lot better. So you can hear me now. Yeah, yes. Finally.
Yes.
I've got 3 pairs of headphones. None of them work. I've got a snowball mic which needs cremating. I've got a laptop camera that is effed. like I am so unprepared for this. And I used to be a good YouTuber.
Well, sometimes it needs some attuning. So it's fine. It's fine.
Right. So where were we, Marco? Feed me in now. I can talk properly now. I'm not stressing. Feed me in. What's the topic?
Well, social stealth. Like the question was what are your thoughts on social stealth? The creative director did mention that you can have standard social stealth when you're having 3 people in Basim's vicinity, and social stealth would trigger. But also you can trigger a patrol blending, which means like when you're bribing specific groups of people and factions, they can walk towards a direction like inside a heavily guarded place, and you can walk within them without being spotted. So these are features that are finally back in Assassin's Creed. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, they're all legacy gimmicks, aren't they? Like legacy play features. So when you look at blending in social groups, or AC1 gathering monks or priests to walk through gates in the heavily gated areas, social stealth was in Valhalla and it was okay. Obviously it wasn't in Odyssey or Origins, but like I said earlier, like I feel like the franchise is going through a bit of an identity crisis, and like they've dabbled with the more action focused orientation with Odyssey's combat and Valhalla's heavy based combat, but now they're obviously trying to dial it back and focus on those Assassin's Creedy elements, as it were. and social stealth is one of them, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that they've also modified the health system as well. I think I heard somewhere that they modified the health system as well to compensate for that. So you're not a tank. You can't be a big beefy Viking tank and just take a load of hits. And combat is the last option. So you really do depend on stealth of every kind of capacity. But yeah, I'm glad that social stealth's back in it. I'm just hoping that the AI and the crowd integration is a lot more smoother than it was in Valhalla, because it's built on what we'll call the RPG engine.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they've been able to iron out some of those bugs, because in Valhalla it was still quite janky, really.
Yeah. It took them a year and a half to fix the detection system in Valhalla. So they did mention that they're going to improve on that in the dev diaries. I hope that's actually going to be the case. By the way, hello Arshak, welcome to the stream. Before we move on to the next to the next comment, which we can actually show, we have Six Keys asking you, Wayne, which multiplayer iteration was your favorite? Let's answer.
Six. That's like asking me which one of my 2 kids is my favorite. I mean, each has their own pros and cons. Brotherhood will always be near and dear, because that was the first one, even though I still have PTSD nightmares of the Assassin Master soundtrack, or the Assassin Master track. that would always be playing over the main menu when you was waiting to load into the game. But I think my personal favorite would have to be Revelations. I think that's the one I had the most fun with. Even though I played a lot more of Black Flag, but I liked my personal favorite was Revelations. There was just something about some of those maps with the verticality of some of those maps, which were a lot more fun. And I thought the characters were a lot more interesting.
Yeah, they were super fun. I remember.
The character designs were a lot more interesting, a lot more fun. But I mean, they'll all be I have my personal favorites, and whichever, depending on what day of the week it is, I'll play one or the other. But I think in order, I would say it would be Revelations, Black Flag, and then Brotherhood. Even though a lot of people do prefer Brotherhood.
Yeah.
I could not. There was something about Brotherhood that I just couldn't wrap my head around. There was some gameplay mechanics that I just couldn't. I was terrible at smoking Brotherhood. Anyway,
I think I left my heart in the Brotherhood multiplayer back in the day. But probably that's because Sary and I spent so many hours in that, and as we went on, we spent less and less time in the multiplayer. Even though I loved the Revelations one, I do remember playing a lot of the what's it called, like the Catch the Flag multiplayer mode in there. I love that so much.
I think Revelations was a bit more dear to me because that's when I actually started doing the YouTube stuff properly. And I remember that first YouTube video, which was terrible. I think I hid it, but the score was good in the match. My commentary not so much, but but I think I liked Revelations because that's where I ultimately got into YouTube as well, when I started getting the Elgato and doing the games as well, the YouTube stuff. But
that was so much time ago, a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
I feel old, Marco. I feel so old.
I do feel too as well. Anyway, back to the present. Yes. So
you don't need to scream because you're old.
Yeah, I need to scream because I'm old. So anyway, so another question was by Environmental Crew 66. They asked, will there be an option to toggle Basim's hood during gameplay? Either like Valhalla with the quick access wheel or in Origins with the menu button? And the answer is no. So for us, says the creative director, Basim is a predator that must remain hidden. It was for us natural that Basim keeps his hood on at all time. He's on a mission in Baghdad, like Altair will do later. Of course, you will be able to witness Basim without his hood in bureaus, or when Basim is with his fellow hidden ones. And I think, I don't know how to call that without being rude, so let's say those are, marketing words. To me it's fine, because it's been a long time since we had a proper assassin as a main character. But I don't think it's because he's a predator that must remain hidden and stuff like that. So I think it's
it's got nothing to do with him being a predator. Like, if you cast your mind back, it's been how many? So the first game to actually have the hood on off mechanic, but it was actually automatic, was Black Flag.
Yes.
And Rogue decided to remove the hood from gameplay for some reason. I don't know why, because Shay looks so cool in that hood on the front cover. But Syndicate switched between the top hat and the hood. That was fine. But yeah, we haven't really had an actual proper assassin that doesn't have a social life. Like Jacob and Evie kind of had stuff to do outside of being an assassin.
Yes.
And it was so it kind of made sense for Jacob to switch between a top hat and a hood, and on and off mission, as it were. But I mean, it's going back to the roots. That beautiful PR phrase, which is going to haunt us for eternity now. Back to roots, and it's Altair with his hood on permanently glued to his head, which yeah.
Yeah. Let's
So it should
keep
be.
it to that. I think that I think I saw some comments on Twitter earlier that there is a way to get Basim without his hood, even in the open world, and not just in selected areas like the hidden ones, bureaus and stuff. And that is by purchasing the deluxe edition of the game, because there is the Prince of Persia outfit that doesn't have a hood. So I think that's the only way, unless there are outfits that do not have a hood within the game, because there are multiple outfits. But if the creative director is saying that you cannot remove the hood, I guess that every outfit will have a hood in there, other than the one in the deluxe edition. So we'll see about that.
I think there's even a bigger question to be asked about accommodating for everyone's needs. I mean, if you look at Assassin's Creed Origins, even though it's like the origins of the hidden ones and the assassins and the proto assassins and Bayek and so on, there was a toggle on and off there, and then they had the toggle with the beard and the change in the hair and stuff.
Yes.
And I think that ultimately it was a precursor of what I feel kind of led to why there was a lot of annoyance with Valhalla, where it's like Ubisoft, again going back to the identity crisis, like Ubisoft are trying to appease or will please everyone by adding transmogs and adding options to toggle hoods on and off, and I understand, having those systems are pleasing to some people, but like, if you're gonna have an assassin, keep the iconography.
I agree.
And keep the hood on, and it serves the purpose. But yeah, I mean, there's always bigger discussions on those types of things. I just don't think the hood on off should be a thing. Period. Cutscenes, yeah, keep it on. AC3 Connor, he kept it on the entire time.
Yeah.
Apart from cutscenes and the odd dedicated mission where the hood was locked off, but keep the hood on.
Yeah.
Hashtag keep the hood on.
I agree, especially because this is a game focused on getting back to play as an assassin. I absolutely agree. So let's move on to the next comment. There's a lot of these, so we'll... Oh, okay, this is a huge one. Okay, let's talk about parkour. There are pros and cons to this answer. So the question is a burning question that a lot of people asked online on social media, in the forums, and everywhere else. Will side and back ejects return in Mirage? And the answer, once again, is basically it's no. But the answer was a little more elaborate. So the creative director said, for parkour, we are focusing on fluidity and control and building our own thing, taking inspiration from several ACs. Back ejects and side ejects, as in the pre-AC3 games, are not part of our parkour system. But we put a lot of effort working on small details to make sure players have the best control on Basim, and they're still fine-tuning the parkour, etc., etc. And like I said, I think there are pros and cons to this. Cons obviously is that side and back ejects are moves that are very dear to long-time AC fans. So this is one of the elements that are not really back to the roots in Mirage. But at the same time, I did appreciate a lot how the creative director was open about this, because the gameplay is not showing anything like that, obviously, because it's not in the game, so they could play coy up until the release of the game, but they did not, and they were open about this. So
I mean, they could have been a bit more open and just said the truth, which is, sorry lads, the engine isn't built for it. Really. I mean, Unity, AC, it says pre-AC3, but AC4 had ejects. In the main game, even Unity had ejects to a capacity as part of the up and down, which Unity is such an underrated parkour system, and I'll take it to the grave. When Unity first came out, I got so much beef and flack from certain facets of the community saying this is a broken piece of crap and how could you like this. And I said, this is an underrated gem. This parkour system is this up down parkour system is divine.
Yeah.
If only it was left in the oven for a little bit longer, it would literally be the template for a decade's worth of games. But yeah, the new RPG system just isn't built for it.
Yes.
But that more locked target parkour system, where the game, when you go and do a jump, as you jump within those milliseconds, the game assesses what is in front of you, what can the character attach to, and it basically locks you to it and then drags you to that position. And it auto locks. It's kind of like an auto targeting jumping system, whereas previous ACs, like AC1 for example, had a bit more of a physics based jumping system, so like you could kind of arc and do a bit of a turn mid-air. It was a bit more loose in terms of the physics and the lock-on system. And yeah, the RPG era parkour system's just not built for that kind. It's not built for that kind of physics. It's a lot more bare bones.
And I think I read some rumors yesterday, very unconfirmed, so I'm not so sure, but these rumors, they mentioned that Codename Red will be the last of this type of RPG games. So a lot of people, like Ubisoft did mention that Codename Red, the game set in feudal Japan, it will redefine the RPG games, etc. But it seems like it's going to be the last, well, according to rumors, it's going to be the last in this style game. So there's a chance that parkour might still be this way and not as a lot of fans are expecting. So I guess we'll see.
Correct for me, Marco, because they announced so much stuff with like Red, Hex, and all that.
Yes.
Hex is after Red.
Yes.
Correct.
It should be. Yes.
Right.
They weren't open about that. I'm not sure, but like rumors are saying Red in 2024 and Hex say after that, so 2025 or 2026.
But if that be the case, then if Red is going to be the last of the RPG era, as it were, I mean, even Mirage is still RPG era.
Yeah.
But even though it doesn't have as many RPG elements, but I think we can ultimately boil down the eras down to the engine.
Yeah. Pretty much.
If if Red's going to be the last of the RPG era in this current engine, then Hex will most likely be running on a new engine now, or at least a modified, maybe Snowdrop. I won't mind it because I like Anvil Next, or like the Anvil system that they use for AC, but even to this day, Division looks really, really nice in Snowdrop. So even if they adapt Snowdrop to Assassin's Creed or at least take some elements of that, but ultimately, if they are ditching a lot of the RPG stuff in terms of the engine, it's going to need a full engine rework, really.
Yeah, probably. So we'll see if that's actually within Red or Hexe. So we'll see about that. But let's move on because there's. I think we're gonna have to jump some of those, like because otherwise we might not be able to cover all of them within the night. So so what's the next one? Can I? Yeah. Okay. So the next one is so this is again about upgrades for the tools. This was by Assassinos, one of the moderators on the subreddit. So the question was, will tools get branching upgrades? Are those choices permanent? That's a no. So you can roll back or swap the upgrades, as I think we mentioned earlier. And the gameplay trailer did show that there are contracts in the Assassin's Creed, in the Assassin bureaus, And the question was, are those limited in numbers and handcrafted, or are they randomly generated? And the answer was no, they are handcrafted and limited in number. So there is a set defined number of missions. And also, something that I'm not a huge fan of, but like, because missions should not be replayable in Mirage, the contracts, and I think the main assassinations as well, but surely the contracts, they will have the 100% synchronization. It's not called like that, but it's called contractor request for the contracts. But the missions are not replayable, which means we'll have to save before doing the contracts, otherwise we might miss the 100% sync, because you can't replay the missions. So I guess that the new the RPG engine does not allow for replayability, or the devs cannot fit it in, which is pretty sad, to be honest.
Yeah, it's I think I think a lot of the issues are like a lot of the stuff that isn't returned to roots is ultimately constrained by the engine. You know,
probably,
but
yes.
I do miss going back to replaying those memory blocks and replaying those sequences, and like, you know, some of those black box missions in Unity, and going back and replaying some of those favorites. And it was good for recording footage as well. But I mean, if the I'm not too sure how repetitive those subcontracts will be in the long run, especially if post launch there's going to be a Valhalla-esque style updates, or maybe some expansions, and like, you know, like live service monthly updates.
You mean for Mirage?
Yeah.
Yes. Sadly, there's not going to be any. I think it was mentioned there even today in the AMA, but it was mentioned even earlier. So there's not going to be any post-launch or DLCs. Which means
it's going to be, so what you see is what you get, really.
Yeah,
there's not
pretty
going to
much.
be
Yes.
a seasonal bump of like a couple of story missions.
That's probably going to be red, but Mirage will be like what you get is the main game. The only additional stuff is the ULC, the unlockable missions from the pre-order, from the pre-orders, and that's it, I think.
Is there going to be a storefront? That's something that I've not really seen or looked into. Is there going to be storefront with Helix credits and all that stuff? I couldn't really see anything on the menus.
What they said is that within the game there's not going to be any microtransactions, but that doesn't prevent any first-party store to include microtransactions. So within the game there's not going to be any. So there's not going to be any in-game store. But
thank God.
So like they're trying to make it to limit it to a more like the early games in that regard as well. But I think that there might be still some microtransactions in the first party stores.
Yeah, I wager there'll probably be some like time savers or something there, maybe, possibly, like if you see them on PlayStation or the Microsoft stores, there might be some time savers, but.
Yeah, probably those are there for every game, so probably. Yeah. Six Keys is asking, Ubisoft the question is about what we were saying about Red and Hexe earlier. So Ubisoft likes making a quote unquote template game and then making 2 to 3 games based on that template. So do you think that any of the rumored games after Hexe will follow that game's formula? I think it's an interesting question, because first, we don't know what formula Hexe has. Six Keys added also, I'm just curious, since it's rumored that Hexe is inspired by survival horror. I mean, it does look like from the teaser that it's going to be a much darker kind of game. So we'll see about that. We'll see what kind of game it is. The executive producer, Mark Alexicote, did mention that it's going to be like a completely different game, different type of game. It's going to be super fresh. So I think they're going to focus on that for sure when the time comes.
Marquise does have a point though in terms of the template game, and I've thought about that, and I've got I think Mirage is ultimately that template game.
Maybe.
Because we've had the RPG era stuff, and we know the story that Mirage was going to be a Valhalla expansion, and ultimately it was pulled and made its own standalone game. And now we've got a load of these new returning features. There's more of a focus onto stealth. Parkour is going to be a key feature. They're probably going to speed that up a bit more. You've got things like dies, and essentially what I feel like now is that they're using Mirage as almost a trial and error guinea pig pot, a tester game to see what sticks, to see what fans get excited for these days.
I hope that's the case. I really hope that's the case.
I couldn't see why that they would go through this much effort in going to the whole, returning to a lot of these old tried and true systems of like legacy games and this whole back to roots gimmick if there wasn't going to be a big payoff down the line. Because how pissed would like some of the people in the community be if like they focus on this, they go back and focus on a lot more of the stealth systems. Yeah. And what they do with Mirage. Say Mirage is brilliant and it's a hit, and then Jade and Hexa and Red and all these come out, and it goes back to Valhalla style stuff. That there will be backlash, I feel, and some of these systems are obviously in development. Like whatever Hex is going to be with the horror systems, that is already baked in. There's no changing that, but it's so far ahead in development, I'm pretty sure they could probably tweak and adapt some gameplay features based on Mirage's feedback. But
oh yeah, for sure.
To answer Keys' question, I think Mirage is ultimately that template game, just to see what sticks with the current fan base going forward. I think Mirage is that template game.
I hope that's the case, to be honest. Moving on. What do we have here? So, second to last. I think this is the 6th out of 7 comments that we picked. So, the question was by TI2738. What are your thoughts on the backlash towards the new assassin focus ability, specifically towards the comments on how it ruins the game by being too fantasy-like visually? Is it too late to change the look of this ability, etc., etc.? Do you agree with people that are saying that or do you stand by how the ability looks currently? And the question is I think it's another somewhat of a PR kind of answer, because the answer is before reading the answer, Assassin Focus is this ability that allows you to, when you are in incognito, to select multiple enemies and to assassinate them in succession, like automatically. And visually, you see Basim teleporting to one enemy, then teleporting to the next. He assassinates that one, and then he teleports to the next and assassinate that one. And that's it pretty much. So in a way you are able to kill 3 enemies that are far from each other, and then you can select, and then the animation triggers. So basically a lot of people are saying this is like teleport assassination, similar to the one in Odyssey, for example.
I love it.
But because this is a more realistic kind of game, a lot of people complain that like, hey, Basim is teleporting, why is that? And so the answer here is that Basim, according to the creative director, Basim is an incredibly agile and efficient assassin, and when using the assassin focus, he is so fast that the Animus has a hard time keeping up with his movements. That's what we convey with the visual effect. From a game design point of view, the assassin focus is an incentive for players to use stealth, as you need to do stealth kills to fill in the gauge, because you cannot trigger it whenever you want. But I love this.
Just
Yeah.
I've not heard this one before, so just correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
That they have said the love child of the Odyssey spear throw and Splinter Cell's mark and execute is
pretty much.
because Basm is too fast.
He's too fast. Yes.
Oh, come on! Like, I mean, it's like.
It's a little too much, and I think I saw that much in some other articles. So like this is like the what PR set as a standard answer for this question, because I think they didn't anticipate too much backlash on this feature, but.
I don't see the issue with it. I think it looks awesome. I don't mind the teleport, because like I said on Twitter when I first saw it, like I had a teleport AC multiplayer teleport ability vibes straight from it. Like I had a warm fuzzy feeling. Like I even made a joke of it in my Mirage video, saying that they borrowed something from the Ubisoft Annecy toy chest.
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
And like I think I like it. I mean, it's at least it's got more of a visual cue to it. Like you see the Animus collapse and reform around him as he teleports. It's a lot more visually interesting than the way they did it in Odyssey, where you just flung the spear and kind of looked like, oh, you flung the spear and Cassandra just chases after it. I like the look of it, but I mean it unrealistic, yeah, true, but I mean, I think we can sustain. I can sustain my disbelief, because we are playing a video game that's set in a simulation, and when we kill people, we go into a dark grey or white place where we have a chat with a dead person for 2 minutes before they die.
True
so. I think it looks cool. I love the mark and execute. That they've borrowed. It's one of those new additions, which is in my opinion, it's one of those additions that makes sense if you want to just bridge the gap between OG Assassin's Creed and have a bit more of an action feel to it.
Yeah,
I think it looks great. I love the visual look of it as well.
I'm in between. Like, I think that the visual effects already right now, they are conveying that this is an Animus. This is happening within the Animus. The Animus is projecting where Basim is going to go. So it's kind of like an Animus effect, without the explanation of, Basim is too fast for the Animus, which is, that. But
I don't think it needed a lore.
It
really didn't.
Yeah.
It's like. Just like they could have just said it's a thing. Deal with it,
It's there. I see one Elham edit is saying it's a copy of the Fear takedowns or something similar to Ghost of Tsushima would be much more fitting. I do believe that they could add, maybe, I'm not sure how that is feasible a few months from release, but they could just add a few more Animus like codes and effects around the shape of Basim as he's doing this, so it's like to convey that this is an Animus ability or something like that without
going off that, like what was said about Arkham Knight's takedown, like there are similarities, but I feel like Arkham Knight, being a big Batman fan, like Arkham Knight and those set pieces are obvious. They're in constrained set pieces, so you are in a partially enclosed space or an enclosed combat space where you are basically moving around from gargoyle to gargoyle, and you have vents and stuff, and even though something like Arkham Knight is open world, the moments where the Fear takedowns are available, even if it's linear or in the open world, they are still very scripted, and the stealth systems in Arkham Knight, or at least the enemy AI, is not all that good, in terms of it's not as sharp as, like, say, you would get of what I can see in Mirage, but I mean, I think it's all a matter of it's all subjective, really, but I can see the similarities, but I we'll see how it goes. If it is obnoxious or if it is a bit too OP, people can choose not to use it. And I think, is there a cooldown to it? Is like when you have like these special abilities and the build up of like the ability point?
It's not, there's not a cooldown, but in order to build the gauge that you have to use, you need to do some stealth kills on your own. So basically, there's a gauge made of several different elements. Like I guess that as you progress, you can build how many bars within the gauge you can have. And which
Arkham had the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much, and that will allow you to probably be able to eliminate more enemies at the same time. So the cooldown is that when you use if you get to kill, I don't know, 3 to 4 enemies. Oh yes, that's the picture. So Sary, I think, can show it in a few seconds. So yeah, the cooldown is that if you are killing 3 to 4 enemies, the gauge will be completely depleted, and you will have to kill more enemies on your own before being able to use that on your own. And also there is another small drawback in that. Yeah, that's the picture. In that if the final enemy that you kill with the assassin focus ability is in a place where you get spotted, that will if you're not calculating it properly and you are spotted, you can be spotted when you're killing the final enemy of the few that you selected. So you also need to get organized on where the animation ends in order to not get spotted. So you need to be aware of your surroundings as well. So yeah, and also it's like the chameleon ability in Syndicate, which basically made you invisible. You can just
it was in Unity as well. The disguise ability as
one.
Well.
You can just choose not to use it if you feel like it's.
I kind of prefer that though, where it's like, okay, you've got one special ability, you know, that you can use, and it might have a cooldown, or if there are constraints in using it, so you can't spam it. But you've got one ability, one quote unquote special ability, and then around that you've got an arsenal of weapons, tools, and gadgets and stuff, which will be the primary focus. And I feel like the way the mark and execute works, in conjunction with things like trip mines and stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be amazing.
It's just one piece of the puzzle. Like the mark and execute, I can see a big setup. Like you see it in the demo where he does the mark and execute, and then he places the trip mine for later, and sets it all up. And yeah, it's not as obnoxious as having like two dozen abilities, and then you could only use 4 in a slot. You know,
yeah,
like in Odyssey.
Pretty much. So final comment by the creative director, and then we move on to the art of the game. So the final comment. So the final question was, is it this one? No. We don't have, I can't see it, so let me see it from here. So actually it was 7 questions by Leo K. I love Leo K so much. So we couldn't also include the questions, otherwise we wouldn't be able to fit everything on the screen. So the answers to the questions were, like, the first question was about post-launch and DLC. So the creative director clarified there's no DLC or post-launch, extensive post-launch to the game. So it's mentioned that stealth players, we noticed stealth players love quick saving, and we decided to make it more accessible. The game difficulty is a factor, of course. I'm not sure about the question here, but I obviously it was about quick saving. Okay, Sary is going to fetch it. The creative director commented on parkour as well. We're focusing on fluidity and control, but back ejects and side ejects are not going to be part of the parkour system. We discussed that already. It was mentioned that you can activate the assassin focus ability only outside of conflict. which we showed in our video recently. The question about the quick save feature is: was the quick save feature visible in recent screenshot of the inventory screen? Was it made available due to the consideration that Mirage leans harder on stealth and thus more punishing combat that Assassin's Creed previously has in many years? And the question was yes, and the answer was we noticed stealth players love quick saving, and we decided to make it more accessible. So in a way that also follows up on what you said earlier, Wayne, about the game being more punishing in terms of combat. Like, you're not going to be the heavyweight Viking warrior that can take so many hits. So it seems like in the game we'll have to be way more stealthy. And the final answer that I can't see anymore. Okay, the walkthrough trailer was still work in progress, and the question was about can the assassin focus ability be visually retouched, as we mentioned earlier. So more questions about the assassin focus ability. So even prominent members of the community are very much into the debate on the assassin focus ability. Are you, because as Sary is fetching the questions about the art direction, are you the kind of player that uses quick save a lot while playing, or do you usually use hard saves?
Honestly, right, so just to tell a quick story, like, I didn't finish Assassin's Creed Odyssey when it came out. It was at the time I was going through a rough patch mentally, and I got very overwhelmed by the map, so I tapped out on it.
Okay.
I've just gone back to replay it, and I'm currently replaying it now with the intent of playing everything, the main game, and I know the story and everything that happens. So and I know all the narrative DLC and Darius and Atlantis, and I know all the stuff, but I'm still playing through it. 60 hours in, fresh start, I've only just realized that Odyssey has a quick save feature. So to answer your question, no, I'm not a quick save person. I will go through and I will save when I'm done.
It's the same for me. I have a few friends that use quick save a lot, and then I don't think Assassin's Creed is not RPG enough for a quick save. If that makes sense. Like, Witcher 3 needs a quick save, because even because every encounter, especially on harder difficulties, can be very punishing if you mess up. Absolutely.
And I don't think Assassin's Creed is that hardcore in terms of its RPG-ness. It's still a bit too scared to take the full plunge. But I don't think it's RPG enough to need those quick save options where it's like, right, I'm going to go into this fort. I need to quick save. I need to make sure I've got X, Y, and Z. I need to reload on arrows. I need to do all this, and then I need to go in. That you don't need prep.
I think so too.
In like things like Odyssey or Valhalla, you can literally go in there, stealth, hide in a few bushes, take out a few people. If you get spotted, you switch tack and then just lay waste to the entire village. Or it's not as punishing as
other games.
As other games. But with this slight change in focus on stealth, Mirage might actually be, again, based on the difficulty, and if we do have low health and we can't tank as much as we could do in previous games, now I think it might just be RPG enough in the right way to require a quick save option. Just because you will get punished, and that's the big difference, really.
I agree with that. Like, it seems like it's going to be more punishing, so we might get to use that. So moving on, moving on to the more to the questions answered by the art director, by Jean-Luc Sala. And the first question is not really about the art direction, but more about history in general. No.
This is the one.
Okay, so the first question was sort of like about history, but also some ties to Assassin's Creed Origins. So the question was, will there be any ties or connections to Assassin's Creed Origins or to the Babylonians? And the answer by Jean-Luc Sala, the art director, is the visual identity we chose for the masks of the Order of the Ancients has a connection to Assassin's Creed Origins. So that's a huge connection to Origins, visually at least. And he also added that this suggests a presence of the Order of the Ancients during the Babylonian era, because some of the masks are based on the some Babylonian monarchs, and also I think on the Babylonian mythology as well. But also, he also mentioned that there's going to be some in-game items that will definitely remind you of Origins. So, what kind of connections do you expect to see in here to Origins? Like, they did mention the Order of the Ancients masks. So there are members of the Order of the Ancients. They will have masks as they did in Origins. So do you expect more connections to Origins?
I'm hoping we might see a more of a fleshing out on the crest.
Okay.
That's me. Because at the end of Origins, you see the reference of the eagle skull in the sand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, you see the echo of the crest. I won't mind seeing if something like that is fleshed out, because I think I've seen some concept art, or like you do see a more of an Assassin's Creed 2 style belt, like the belt that Ezio wore, where it was the crest. So I wonder if I wouldn't mind seeing something like that being fleshed out, and like you see some of those echoes, a lot more of that world building. What the proto hidden ones were, at that time, really, because Ubisoft have completely messed with the continuity, now reverting the assassins to the hidden ones. So like now I feel like they have to expand on some of those things a little bit more. You saw the reference to the missing finger from Bayek, and the symbolism, how that entailed, like, people, agreed with Bayek and wanted to follow Bayek, and their commitment to Bayek was ultimately hacking off the finger the same way. And as you see in the CGI trailer for Mirage, that tradition is obviously carried forward. You see the reference to the eagle feather, the feather, the heron feather in the trailer as well.
I love that. That is a direct connection to Origins.
So there are a few deep cuts that are currently visible in the current marketing material. If there's one that will be revealed in the game, I wouldn't mind seeing more, seeing it tie up to the crest, the insignia, because you see the insignia on the rooftop in the demo. How did that insignia become a thing now? Where did that come from? I want an insignia Origins.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Hint in there.
Yeah, that would be amazing, to be honest. Next question. Okay, so no next section. No, okay. So, okay, the second is the second set of questions is actually by Ras Al-Him, and only one was answered, but it's a huge answer. So the question was, how different are the districts of Baghdad visually, and what makes them unique? So we do know already there's going to be 4 districts in Baghdad. And what the art director said is that the type of people and activities to be found in each city will affect their look and feel. Each district surrounding the round city has a dedicated role, because like Baghdad is built as a round city, and at the center there is the round city district, which is the richest one. It holds the Caliphate Palace. We're going to discuss it later. And then outside of it, there are the other districts. For example, the art director mentions one is mostly industry and workers' houses, the other is dedicated to trading, and the last one is about knowledge and science. So there's these 3 districts outside the round city. And in these 3 districts, you can expect very typical landmarks for each, such as factories, the Great Mosque, prison, Grand Bazaar, cellar streets and markets, pharmacy, hospital, called the Bimaristan, the House of Wisdom, which is this huge university-like building that was super famous at the time. And those are, to name a few. And then the art director went on to say the heart of the empire is the round city, and you can expect in this specific part of the city the most exquisite display of the Abbasid architecture and gardens. There's going to be administrations, a harem, a zoo, and the Caliphate Palace at the very center of the city. So that concludes the huge comment by Jean-Luc Sala, and he described a lot of the landmarks that we can see in there. So
did I read somewhere they mentioned a zoo as well?
Yes, a zoo within the round city. So at the center of the city, in the rich district, which is also going to be the heavily guarded one because that's where the caliph lives, there's going to be a zoo. So I guess that there was documented in some way. So I guess we're going to see different animals in there.
I'm waiting for the absolute smorgasbord of virtual photography in the zoo.
Yes.
I'm waiting for that. It'll be so good.
There's going to be a question about photo mode as well. So yes, we're gonna take pictures as if we are going to the Caliph's zoo.
Just to stick with the districts, though,
yes.
I'm curious on whether. I don't know if they've mentioned this at all, but how are these districts? I'm curious on whether or not these districts are all accessible from the word go when the map opens up, as it were, or are they kind of locked in? Because the game is going to be a lot more narrative driven. So does that mean sections will be unlocked over time, like AC1 style?
I think it's going to be more open world, like. It's not going to be like in AC1, especially because they said maybe at the beginning, like because they said that the first main assassination it's kind of like mandatory, like you have to do that one first. I think that, and then you can pursue any kind of target in the various districts. So there's one hidden one bureau for each district, if they said that if you can pursue any kind of target after the first one, it means that after the first main assassination you will be able to go to each district, find the hidden ones bureau there, and then pursue the target. So I guess that you can also go to the center of the city after the first main assassination.
Well, I know what I'm doing before I do any of those, because I have a terrible habit in video games, which was created by Assassin's Creed, which is if I get access to a new era, it's synchronization points first, always, no disputes, no arguments, and then collectible run, and then story missions.
And then the story. Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you do the collectibles before the main story?
Most of them,
wow.
or at least in the RPG era, for example, I will tick off every question mark on the map before doing the mission. It's something that was drilled into me all the way back from in AC1, where it's like you do the sync points first and then you progress.
Right.
And there's been many a times where I've literally spent hours trying to clear the map, open up the map. Valhalla was the worst one. I went and basically synchronized everything in the map before I even touched the story.
I'm seeing in the chat one Elmam's edits is saying, hope Basim has a relationship to Enkidu. his eagle, as we were talking about animals and the zoo and everything, like Aladdin has with Abu the monkey, and they both join the Brotherhood together. We're gonna discuss the eagle later when we are.
I've got something to say about the birds. But yeah,
we're gonna talk about that when we are going into the narrative aspects again. There's going to be some bad news about that, but anyway, next comment and question. While I take a look at the chat as well. So let me see. Oh, Arshak is researching about the zoo, so we can expect a thread on AC Landmarks. Anyway, the next set of questions to the art director was. There's 3 questions, but once again he answered only one. So the question was, what differentiates costumes from outfits? Here, we're getting to one of the main aspects. So the question was, what differentiates costumes from outfits? Are they disguises that the player can wear to better blend in and sneak into enemy compounds, or what are they? And I think the question comes from the fact that in the recent dev diary they did show the inventory page in Valhalla, and there is a costume selector and an outfit selector. So the doubt originated from there, and I think that here Jean-Luc Sala provided the most confusing answer that he could provide. So let me try and read this. So costumes are official costumes that Basim would wear in quote-unquote real life, like the assassin costumes. And outfits are to player discretion. You can dye the outfits and not the costumes. In certain circumstances, the game will require you to wear some specific costumes in order to infiltrate a location. Outfits will give you special perks. And I was there scratching my head, like, what? I can't. So
the best way I can describe it is, I think basically the first mention of costume and outfit, I think they've got them mixed up. So outfits are the real life stuff that he wears, his robes, whether it's the apprentice robes or the master robes, and then the costumes are the transmogs. Costumes are the skins that guaranteed there'll be Altair legacy skins and stuff like that, and obviously the Prince of Persia stuff, and then locked disguises and stuff. So yeah, outfits are the default. Costumes are the extra bits, and I think that the two were confused, or the two words were the wrong way in the initial statement, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Like as far as I know, outfits are the main robes that you're gonna wear.
Yeah.
And then costumes, they could basically say costumes are transmog, and that would have been like the shortest of sentences. I think Sary now got a picture. So basically, outfit is the selector you have on the left. That's where you select your actual outfit with the perks and stuff, and that's where you can use outfit dye. That's why it's called outfit dye and not costume dye. And the costume is if you want to keep the stats and perks of your outfit, but you want it to look different, you can use the costume, and that's it. So they could basically say costume is transmog instead of.
And then the outfits will have specific perks tied to them. What about the talismans? Was anything like that mentioned?
Okay, yes, there is an answer later that was provided by the narrative director as well. But basically they are cosmetic. So we're gonna talk about that later. But the talismans, I didn't expect that. I expect them to apply some buffs and.
I was expecting that. I was expecting like the talismans to have like a 5% XP boost or a 5% gold.
Pretty much.
Collection or something, kind of like the trophies in Witcher, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. I'm seeing some comments in the chat. They're saying the HUD looks good. The inventory page looks clean, which I do agree with that. It does looks less confusing than it was in Valhalla and Odyssey, especially. Even the skill tree page, we don't have a picture now, but even the skill tree page looks very much cleaner. Anyway,
I like the art, the Sanskrit style, like parchment, papyrus, paper effect over it. I do like the visual representation of it.
I agree. So next one is the next question answered by the art director Jean-Luc Sala is about photo mode. So will there be a photo mode to capture Basim and Baghdad, and will it be improved from the previous titles? And once again, the answer is basically no. So the answer is yes, there will be photo mode. You will have a lot of opportunities in Baghdad, as Baghdad and the surroundings are really visually stunning. You can also try to photo safari the now extinct Arabian ostriches. So that's a new animal that we know will be in the game. But we will have, says the art director says, we will have the same feature set as for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but you will also be able to play in game with and take photos with our AC1 nostalgic filter. So I think that after Odyssey, the photo mode visuals and opportunities have been the same. So they were pretty much the same in Valhalla, and they promised to add many more features, but they never delivered on that. And Valhalla, I didn't expect them to put effort in more stuff in the photo mode for a game like this. So
I think going forward into Red and definitely Hexa, I suspect that the photo mode system is going to be completely reworked. Because
same.
One thing that I have noticed, obviously coming back into the community a lot more, like after taking a hiatus, is like the whole virtual photography side. Is like this whole virtual photography thing has just come up because of photo mode, and there's a lot of creative people out there who and they produce some amazing shots.
Absolutely.
The one just to quickly on the photo mode, the one thing that I would love them to add, which is in Gotham Knights, is the ability to change the character model. So you can change the stances or change facial expressions. Like in Gotham Knights, you'll have there's a set of, I think it's like 6 preset character models. So you can have the in-game shot that you've got, the in-game character model that you've got, or you can switch between like 5 or 6 different presets, whether it's like an action mode, a standing mode, a crouching mode,
that's nice.
In a different pose, and then in things like Last of Us, you can do facial expressions, so you can have him, Joel yelling or whatever. I wouldn't mind if they introduce something like that a bit later on.
I would love that too. I've seen the photo mode in Horizon. It has a lot of opportunities. You can swap the facial expression, the pose, etc. And the photo mode in Ghost of Tsushima is also amazing. So I hope that they're going to implement some changes with Red, especially because I really want to have more and more opportunities when playing in feudal Japan. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So next one, we are 5 out of 8. Is what part of Baghdad did you enjoy building the most, or what part of the city is the most beautiful? And the art director said, it's hard to choose. I love the reconstruction of Dur Gurigalzu, which is an ancient ziggurat. So that's probably, we already did mention that. That's probably where we might expect some first civilization stuff. There's going to be southern marshes with flocks of flamingos. There's going to be a Nestorian monastery with Western movie vibes, which is another one of the favorite places of the art director. And then he said, of course, the jewel of the empire is the round city, but the vibes in the bazaar district and the district of wisdom, the science district, are really places I love to wander. As you can see, it's hard to choose. So he provided like a very brief description of a lot of interesting places that we can go to, and again experiment with our photo mode.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. And then the next one is about what books did the team read to get ready for this period, and he mentioned a book by Guy Lestrange, I think it's Guy Lestrange, called Baghdad During the Abbasid Caliphate, from contemporary Arabic and Persian sources, which was a solid start for the devs. So in case you guys in the chat would like to read a book that acted as an inspiration for the dev team, like I mentioned in previous streams, I remember reading the Republic of Pirates for AC4, which Darby did mention quite a few times to be an inspiration for Black Flag. So that's an interesting book to maybe get a head start on Mirage and the context. And then
I'll have to see if there's any documentaries. I'll have to see if there's any documentaries about it.
Oh yeah, there might be. There probably there might be. And the same was for a lot of the books that were used as inspirations for the past games.
Yeah.
Then another question by Nilab 2818 is, how dense is the city? And Jean-Luc Sala said, from an urbanistic point of view, it depends on the district. We have intricate streets in the poor districts, like in the city of Anbar, because they mentioned that there are other small cities in the game outside of Baghdad. One of these is the city of Anbar, where the game starts. And so it will have poor districts with intricate streets, and then there's going to be workers districts as well. Some other areas in Baghdad have large avenues. You will have the feelings of mazes in the round city, so we will literally be able to get lost in the round city. And then he also mentioned there's going to be a higher density of people in the commercial district of Karg. So it seems like they also decided the density of the crowds based on the districts in the city, which is going to be pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah. It'll give different social stealth and different opportunities.
Exactly.
It'll add natural difficulty constraints depending on what district you're in. So if you're in a more richer or lush, highly dense district, then you can probably move a lot more stealthily. Whereas if you're in more derelict districts, especially if you're on higher notoriety, it'll be a bit more difficult to navigate the area.
I think that's very interesting, like to have the environment to define the difficulty of the missions that you're playing, along with, so not just a difficulty selector outside the game, but like, hey, when you're going here, you can't use social stealth because there are wide streets, so maybe you will have to go on the roofs, and can you do that because there are some ingredients that allow you to move through the roofs, but so I think it's going to be pretty cool. And the final question that the art director answered is, the question was by Moon Logic, will there be a discovery tour, or at least a no enemies free roam mode? How hard was it to recreate a city that was destroyed so long ago? So the answer for the discovery tour question is, there's not going to be an actual discovery tour as we saw in the RPG games, but there is a feature that is more similar to what is in the original games. So basically, there is a feature called History of Baghdad, which basically History of Baghdad is basically this feature where it's a mix of the old historical database from the original games and the text based portion of the Discovery Tour from the recent game. So basically, you have to roam around the city of Baghdad. I think this is focused on Baghdad. There are 66 locations that you can find, so 66 landmarks. So it's not only monuments, but also, you know, situations and where you can see, I don't know, the art or the daily life that is described by that is shown by NPCs. And when you go to these 66 locations, you can interact. There is an interact button, and that will trigger a new entry in your history of Baghdad database, which will have a historical description. So it's not Sean describing the historical landmark, but it's going to be, you know, a proper historical description of the landmark or of the event that we are witnessing. So there is that. So there isn't a guided tour, but there is something in the shape of what we saw in the original games, where we, you know, got close to a landmark and an entry was added automatically. This time we'll have to interact. And similarly to the recent Discovery Tour modes in the games, once we complete all the 66 landmarks and all the 66 entries in the database, we will get a reward, even if we don't know what it is. So it's an in-game reward. I would expect it to be an outfit, like an historical outfit, as it was the case in Valhalla. So there is something like that. It's not like a guided tour, but at least.
I do love the guided tours.
Do you?
Yeah, I really do like them, and they ended up using the Origins guided tour in my son's school as well.
Yeah.
Going around Giza.
Oh wow.
so that, and yeah, I spent quite a lot of time in those Discovery tours. So I can't wait to have a look at the Odyssey one. So.
Oh, you haven't tested it yet, because you have to.
I haven't looked at the Odyssey one.
I think you're gonna love it, because
I go through them after I've completed the game. So
okay.
I did Valhalla, and did all the role play stuff that they have in there, but I've not touched Odysseys yet. Okay. So that's on the to-do list. But I do love them. I think they're really good.
Odyssey's one is more similar to the one in Origins, so it's an actual guided tour. So it's not, you know, quests like the one in Valhalla. Yeah. And there's going to also be like something like the characters asking you questions about what you learned at the end. So it's like a sort of like an interrogation, like a school.
No one told me there was going to be a pop quiz to this test. Yeah. I'm not liking this.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's very interesting, because you have like Aspasia or Leonidas actually asking you questions about what you just learned.
Are you paying attention at the back of the class?
Pretty much, yes. It does feel like that. Okay, so do we have other comments in the chat? Okay, so let's move on to the final comments and questions that the narrative director, Sarah Beaulieu, answered in the AMA. The first one being, at what point during Valhalla was it decided to make Mirage a full game instead of a DLC, and why? So this is a question that was asked multiple times. And it was answered multiple times. So basically, the narrative director said, we decided to make Mirage a full game in the following weeks after starting working on it. So very early in there. The opportunity of working on the city of Baghdad and on the character of Basim was too good to be missed. I think I read some other comments mentioning that the DLC was originally meant to be set in Ireland at first, and then they changed the direction for that. I think I heard somewhere else. It was mentioned back in September that originally the main character was meant to be somebody else, and I would imagine it was going to be Eivor, because it was a DLC for Valhalla. So it does feel like they changed it very early in the concept phase. and then they moved on to do that. I don't think that was decided by the devs. I think it was more like to fit the very tight schedule that Ubisoft had for 2023.
To be honest, that could be a separate conversation entirely. There's so much stuff like in the shake-up of Ubisoft since the last Ghost Recon and how that tanked and how they completely changed tack and the creation, like the concept of Infinite to come and there's a whole big conversation of why they changed tack, which we definitely don't have the time for.
We don't have the time. Maybe another time. But yes, so this happened very.
We changed strategy very, very quickly.
Oh yeah.
So let's just say that.
Yeah, let's keep it to that. So the next question answered by the narrative director is about the eagle, about Enkidu. So the question, and then we get to your opinions about the eagle. The question was, why give Basim an eagle companion when he had no such companion in Valhalla, and eagle vision makes the eagle companion almost obsolete? And the answer is about the eagle. And on the story side, you'll get an answer in Mirage on why Basim doesn't have his eagle in Valhalla, ... So, I don't think that Enkidu will have a very nice end, or he will depart from Basim at the end of the game or mid-game.
There'll be something there, and then they'll probably have to do some kind of enemies trickery to bring him back at some point, because you've got to use him, because it'll be available if you're just free roaming after the main quest, so there'll be some trickery going on. But I am sick of the birds.
Are you?
Yeah. Like, obviously, I understand the concept of them, and like, Sinu and Icarus, and I understand why they were there in terms of a gameplay perspective as well as a narrative one, but I feel like this time round, specifically with Mirage, I feel like that they're kind of stuck with having the mechanic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they
just
are stuck
because of the engine. At least the birds in the other three entries, Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, made sense narratively in terms of the themes and even the names, and it was rooted within the mythos of those three eras. Whereas this time round, I feel like that they were stuck in the office and went, do we have to use the bird gimmick again? Yeah, we've got to use the bird drone Ghost Recon gimmick again. Crap. Well, we'll have to do something with it.
I think so too.
I want it to go away. I try not to. I try not to use the bird as much, because I want it. Cause it does add actually add a difficulty spike if you choose to not use the bird. But this time round, I narratively don't see the point, especially when they have to write the bird out, for it to make sense in Valhalla. So I'm a bit sick and tired of that gameplay feature personally.
I do hope that, we'll see what they're going to do with Red. I see a few comments, a few disgruntled comments in the chat about the narrative director actually answering this question, because she might have spoiled stuff, even though it's not obvious that Enkidu will die here. Like, they might part ways. Like, imagine Basim not being the character that we see at the beginning of the game. Like, maybe he's friend with his eagle and whatnot, and then at some point let's say he has his own clash with the memories of Loki nested within him, and at some point those memories, like, he will let's say accept those memories, and he will turn into the Basim that we know from Valhalla, and at that point maybe Enkidu will not feel like Basim is the Basim that he knows, and then he might decide to go away, or or Basim, or the new Basim will decide like, I don't need an eagle, or I need to go on my quest to find the reincarnation of Odin or something like that. So
yeah,
I
I do not think they will attempt to kill off the bird. I don't think they will. There'll be some narrative if they do a transition from Basm to Loki in this game, which I've got a feeling they will do. Because that's what I think the creature in the shadows is. That's my personal opinion. That you see in the trailers. I think that is the remnants of Loki lurking around in the ether and the grey. But yeah, I think that the bird leaving will be fine. The bird will live.
Yeah.
The bird will the bird will live.
Okay, next one. We have a question about the ISO. So the question was by Andy Reloads, and the question was, well, how long will it take in hours to complete the game 100%? How big is the map in kilometers? I didn't and the narrative director didn't answer that. Like she said that in terms of playtime, it will be closer to the first AC game, which was mentioned a few times. So it's going to be around 20 hours or so. But the bonus question was, is there an ISO armor set to obtain in Mirage? And Sarah did not answer that, but she mentioned about the ISO elements. We definitely have some surprises in store, which was very general. But at least it's the second time that they're mentioning already ISO content in the game, which, because they mentioned that there's not going to be modern day within the game apart from the start. At least we do know that there's going to be some ISO content within the game. So not a huge piece of news, but at least we know that it's going to be there, and it should be more grounded and not the fantasy like content that we saw in Odyssey and a little bit in Mirage. So there's that.
Real quick, the little bit of the modern day at the start. Maybe put this to let's see what the chat's got to say about this.
Okay.
Do you think this will be the opening bit of the modern day? Will spoilers cough? Will be William with Basim's blood, or will this ultimately be Basim digging through his own memories, or Loki digging through Basim's memories?
I like let's see what the chat thinks. My opinion is it's either going to be William, or if William doesn't want to do stuff his own, it might be somebody else for the assassins. Or
the assassins have Loki / Basim's blood. So the question is, will the regression into Basim's memories be the assassins having a nosy at Basim's memories, or will this be Basim digging around in his own memories to try and find references to his children and his own personal goals going forward?
I think it's going to be the assassins, because otherwise, if it was Basim, we might have some self-comments throughout the game, which would be amazing, with the other voice actor of Basim, so with Carlo Rota instead of Lee Majdoub, who is the new voice actor for Basim. I would love that, but I don't expect that to happen. Let's see.
I think if they did the second one, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because you read the comic books and stuff, I think wouldn't that be like one of the first times in the franchise where a character is reliving their own memories technically in the Animus rather than ancestors?
I think it would be one of the first ones. Within Valhalla, if you finish the game before completing the Animus anomalies, and so you go within the remaining Animus anomalies as Basim, Basim comments something like, the Animus anomalies, these are something that I created, or something like that. So that was already something of a character reliving not his own memories, but at least something of their own doing. And as other than that, maybe something like that happened within the novels, but I don't think so. It would be pretty fresh. But I think that in the chat, a lot of people are saying it's going to be William digging through Basim's memories. But we'll see about that.
I think that'll be the case as well. Yeah.
So the moving on, the next comment is about the assassin headquarters, as they were called by Yautia Hunter. Will there be assassin headquarters like in the earlier games? Also, can we train our own assassins and use them in combat? I think this is the more important element of the question, because like Sarah mentioned, yes, there's going to be Hidden Ones bureaus, and I'm happy that the narrative director calls it a Hidden Ones bureau and not an assassin bureau, because the assassins are still not there. But other than that, the experience, she says, is centered around Basim becoming a master assassin. Therefore, he does not train any other assassins yet. And I think that might be a little disappointing to me, because we'll see about this, but I hope to see a little bit of Basim training Hytham within the game, like a very young Hytham. But
I have a feeling that'll be the ending. I've got a feeling that
might be the ending.
Hytham will pop up at the end just to tie it together. I think.
I hope so, because otherwise it would be like a lost opportunity to not feature Hytham. Because they mentioned, like, of course, Hytham is an apprentice at the beginning of Valhalla, but there have been also novels that show that already a few years after the events of Mirage, Hytham is already an apprentice with an acolyte, with Basim being his master. So something like 6 years after the events of Mirage. So we'll see about that.
He'll definitely pop up then, I think, in terms of the timeline. He'll definitely pop up there somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's just a cliffhanger sting, right at the very end before end credits roll or something.
Yeah, maybe at the end. Then the other question is, what is the approach to weaving philosophy into the story of Mirage? Does Basim seek liberty for all or just himself? And I picked this answer, the answer by Sarah, because I think, like Sarah mentioned, freedom is actually the core theme of the conflict. Basim is torn between his strong will to bring back justice in Baghdad and his own struggles. This supports the whole story and character evolution. I picked this answer. It's not adding any new information, but I think that the struggles and conflict in general is like one of the main themes of the game, because like there is conflict within Baghdad. I think we're gonna see later that the game will also show the start of the Zan's rebellion, or at least what is going to lead to this rebellion of African slaves. So there is conflict outside in the city against the Caliph and the Caliphate. Of course, there is the conflict between the Hidden Ones and the Order of the Ancients, but also there are more subtle conflicts within Basim, because he's going to, choose like work for freedom, but also have to obey to what the Hidden Ones are telling him to do. So there's going to be the conflicts and the ironies of the creed, and also he's going to have this inner conflict within the genie and the memories of Loki. So I think that conflict and
well, in terms of the narrative, like it's like there's a lot of similarities with Unity in that regard.
Yes, true. Yeah.
Like the city is at war with itself. Arno himself is at war with himself, because he wants revenge for his father's death, but he also loves Elise, who is a Templar, which will ruffle a few feathers. And then you've got Belek, trying to stay Arno loyal to the creed, and like Arno's pulled left, right, and center in terms of what he wants to do and what other people want him to do. So there's a lot of similarities there. Well, I can see a lot of similarities there from what we've seen so far in the gameplay trailers, and in terms of like, do you follow your heart, or do you follow your orders and that sort of thing? And And yeah, it's just nice to actually have like a really personal story, like a really narrowly focused personal story on a protagonist this time around, because there's always been a lot more bigger things at play in the RPG era. So now that it's focusing down into a more personal focused narrative similar to Unity,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't wait for the story.
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting, and I think that all these conflicts are going to, escalate towards the ending when Basim is going to, go in a way. I expect him to go crazy, and that's where the memories of Loki either will make him crumble down or will save him from all the conflict that is happening all around him.
Well, at some point, I've again completely speculation, but I suspect that at some point we will see Basim versus Loki, similar to the way we saw Eivor versus Odin in the finale of Valhalla. Because like that fight, which I didn't actually know, I had to go digging it up on AC Wiki for it to make sense. Like that whole final fight between Eivor and Odin was ultimately for control over Eivor's body.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
According to the wiki, and it took a while for it to sink in. So I'm hoping that we'll have a similar conflict as the story progresses, and Loki slowly starts grabbing his talons into Basim and twisting the knife and slowly taking over and start playing with him, with his head. And who knows, like the conflict in Basim could just be Loki pulling the strings from the word go, being the ultimate manipulator that he is. So.
Oh yeah, I think, I think we're gonna see that up until the end of the game. And the next question instead, this is a faster one. Basically, it was the question that we mentioned earlier about what exactly are talismans, do they have any tangible gameplay benefit? And the narrative director chimed in to say that the talismans are cosmetic only, but I can already tell you that some of them are well hidden in the world. If they are cosmetic only, I don't see the reason to put a selector for them within the main inventory page. But
it's a bit weird just having them as cosmetic only, because in hindsight I would have personally made them the perks and the boons and have them have the different modifiers of like increase stealth radius by 10% or something. I would have had the talismans do that rather than the outfits.
True, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got a feeling that I've got a feeling something was changed there, and it was too late in development to actually
probably. Yeah, I feel that too.
The overall system.
So moving on, the next question is about the modern day. We're back. We're back to the hot topic. So the question is not whether there is modern day or not, but could you explain your decision to not include the modern day within the game? And will we still see some in the future? The second question was not answered. But the narrative director said, as the game is more condensed in terms of narrative, we decided to focus on Basim's story during his time in Baghdad, since it was already so dense. There is a scene at the beginning of the game where you will have the modern day context. Then the experience will focus on Basim's evolution as a hidden one. So it seems like there might also not be some modern day at the end of the game. I'm still rooting for that, but we'll see. Which also means, the news here is that there's going to be a scene at the end, at the start. So it's going to be it's not even big news. We do know it's a scene, so it's not going to be playable. They already mentioned that there's going to be modern day at the beginning to provide the context, like this is an animus, so this is a simulation, and you are going into the memories of Basim, etc., etc. But that's going to be it, and then it's going to be only historical. So what are your feelings about this, Wayne?
Well, we know that it's going to be there's not going to be a lot of baggage with that opening bit in the modern day, because they've said that you can literally play Mirage without playing any other AC game. So, or like playing like Valhalla and stuff. So that there isn't going to be a lot there in hindsight for the casual consumer, but I've got a feeling that there'll be enough nuggets and threads there hidden within the opening cutscene and throughout the game itself to drip feed the hardcore community, the actual narrative, what's going on behind the scenes. But I mean, we'll see what happens at the ending. I suspect there's going to be a tease or something that will narratively set up whatever they've got planned for Infinite.
You think
Infinity.
So?
I think so, because Infinity is going to be the big hub going forward, isn't it? So narratively speaking, to me anyway, it makes sense to at least try and establish or at least hint at something. I don't know. Maybe I'm too into like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where every ending has a hint towards something else. But since that is going to be the main thing the main gimmick going forward. They could I think they might at least drop. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that they'll hint something into there, like there's some kind of nexus point, revelation style that maybe might tease that format, that hub system going forward. Wishful thinking.
Yeah, maybe they're going to have just a black screen with like Basim will return or something like that.
Or maybe like it'll just be a black screen, then there'll be three doors of light with the hexa crest, the red crest, etc.
Yeah, sure.
Something there. Yeah.
Anyway, final comment by the narrative director. The question was, even if the main story is shorter than previous installments, will we be able to keep playing with challenges and exploration in the same vein? Is there new game plus plan for this release? The second question once again wasn't answered. So the answer was, apart from the main story, you will encounter world events as you explore Baghdad, which we mentioned earlier, and its surroundings. So there might be world events even outside of Baghdad. You will meet characters and experience short narrative moments within these world events. But you will also have assassination contracts that you will collect from the Hidden Ones bureaus, as well as world activities. All of them support either the world, the lore, or Basim's characterization. So this was a question about side content in terms of narrative. So we mentioned earlier there's going to be handcrafted contracts. So those are additional side missions. There's going to be the world events. I don't expect, because the game is going to last 20 hours-ish. I don't expect a lot of those to be there, but it's a more compact experience. I think it's going to be very entertaining, even for completionists.
I'm happy with the compact experience for once.
Absolutely.
It's just nice to have a smaller experience rather than being haunted by the size of the map in Valhalla or Odyssey, going, no, there's like 120 hours, 150 hours, or whatever the completion time is these days for Valhalla.
It's the same reaction I have every time I try to go back and open Odyssey again to try and finish what I left there. Every time I look at the map and all the icons, I'm like, oh, nope. And I close the game, and I postpone.
Closing the game. That's another. That's a tomorrow Marco's problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Not me. Tomorrow's Marco every time.
Yeah.
So I think that is it. Those were the most interesting comments by the key speakers at the AMA. Which also means it is time to wrap our stream as well. I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat about some of you guys trying to keep up with some coffee and stuff because
we're all old.
We are all old. Like you said earlier, we're old geezers.
Yeah, we're all old. We've been at this game for too long.
For too long now.
I think you and me need to like set up our retirement and go into an old folks home and just reminisce about the good old days.
Yeah, pretty. I think we'll end up doing that. Absolutely. So Wayne, thank you so much for joining us in this stream. It was so cool to find the time to have such a long call about Assassin's Creed, all the themes and the news. So I think it was an amazing occasion to
thank you. Well, thanks so much for having me. I apologize for the jankiness at the start with all the audio, and
but you caught up perfectly.
Yeah, and apologies to everyone in the chat because it was my fault. We're starting late. And last shout out, big shout out to all to everyone at the AC Reddit for ultimately getting all these questions together. When I had a quick scan, it was insane. The amount of questions being asked was absolutely ungodly and unruly. So
and it was such a huge work by the moderators.
And yeah, big shout out to Ghost and everyone for trying to keep some law and order amongst the chaos and getting all the questions together. You guys did great.
So once again, thank you guys in the chat as well for joining us in this long chat about the recent news about Assassin's Creed Mirage. Take care wherever you are. Stay hydrated because it's super hot all over the world. Once again, thank you, Wayne. And
bye-bye. And thank you so much.
Keep your eyes out on our channel. We'll have a few videos coming out again about Mirage. And I'll see you